Did you know America's first great naval hero spent half his career making the British so angry they insisted on calling him a pirate? This is the story of John Paul Jones, the Scotsman who reinvented himself as an American, took the fight straight to Britain's front porch, and did it all with the chaotic energy of a man who woke up every day and chose violence at sea. Let's rewind. John Paul is born in Scotland in 1747, not into wealth, not into nobility, just a regular family near the sea. He goes to work on ships as a kid, and not teenager with a summer job kid. We're talking 12-year-old cabin boy, cleaning decks, hauling lines, watching grown men curse, drink, and occasionally die for a living. By his 20s, he's a legit officer. He knows ships, he knows wind, and he knows how to run a crew. But he also has a bit of a temper. On one voyage, a mutinous sailor comes at him with a weapon. John solves the problem by killing him. Technically self-defense. Legally, gray area. Socially, hey, maybe don't hang around the country where that happened. So he bails out of Britain and heads to the American colonies. Adds Jones to his name, like a guy changing his username after drama online, and becomes John Paul Jones. Perfect timing, too, because the colonies are about to start the American Revolution. And suddenly this angry Scottish Seaval finds himself in the perfect job market. The Continental Navy is basically, do you hate the British? Can you sail? Do you mind if your paycheck is theoretical? And Jones says, sign me up. He gets command of a small ship, the USS Providence, and starts doing what he does best. Hunting British merchant ships, raiding supply lines, and capturing prizes. He's not playing defense. He's not guarding harbors. He's taking the war to them. Jones is aggressive, cocky, and absolutely relentless. He sails fast, hits hard, and runs his crew like a floating boot camp. They respect him and also kind of hate him. Perfect naval leadership balance. Soon he's in command of a bigger ship, the USS Ranger, and that's when the pirate vibes start really coming through. Most American ships are staying near home waters, fighting around the colonies. John Paul Jones looks at the map and says, nah, let's go raid Britain itself. This is not normal behavior. He sails across the Atlantic, right into the Irish Sea, the backyard of the Royal Navy, and starts attacking British shipping, grabbing prizes, and generally behaving like the ghost of Blackbeard signed on with the wrong flag. Then he decides to level up. He hits the British port of Whitehaven, the same port he knew from his youth. In the middle of the night, Jones and a small landing party row ashore, sneak into the harbor, and try to burn British ships at anchor. He wants flames, chaos, and panic. The tide, bad luck, and some damp materials ruin his big arson party. But a couple of ships burn and the message is clear. You thought the war was over there. It's at your house now. Then he raids the coast of Scotland. His home coast, tries to kidnap a local lord for ransom, and generally behaves exactly like the British newspapers say he is. A pirate with a flag and a grudge. Back in America and France, he's a hero. In Britain, he's a villain. In his own head, he's just getting started. France notices. The French love anything that makes Britain miserable. So they give him an old merchant ship refitted as a warship and a gloriously French name, Bonhomme Richard. Good Man Richard, named after Benjamin Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac. It's slow. It's old. It handles like a floating barn. John Paul Jones smiles and says, perfect. Let's go pick a fight. And that's where things get really stupid and really legendary. Because next, he's going to fight one of the most famous ship-to-ship battles in history with a ship that's fallen apart against a faster, stronger, better-armed British warship. And by 1779, John Paul Jones is in command of the Bonhomme Richard, and he's cruising around the British Isles like it's his personal hunting ground. He's not just raiding merchant ships anymore. He's taunting the Royal Navy, the most powerful fleet in the world. On September 23, 1779, off the coast of England near Flamborough Head, he spots a British convoy escorted by a real warship, a Serapis, newer, faster, tougher, and carrying more and heavier guns. The smart move will be to salute politely from a great distance and leave. John Paul Jones? Not that guy. He closes in. The Bonhomme Richard is creaking, leaking, and overloaded with guns. When the battle starts, it goes badly fast. Serapis rips huge holes in his hull. Cannons explode on Jones's own gun deck, killing his crew. The Bonhomme Richard starts to literally come apart. At one point, with his ship burning and sinking, the British captain shouts across the water, "Have you struck your colors?" Basically, "Are you done? Do you surrender?" And Jones gives the line that will follow him forever, "I have not yet begun to fight." Is that exactly how he said it? Probably polished a bit for history. But it fits him perfectly. Instead of running or quitting, Jones closes the distance and has his crew lash the Bonhomme Richard to the Serapis. If his ship's dying, fine. He'll use it as an anchor and turn this into a knife fight. The two ships are literally chained together, side by side, blasting each other at point-blank range. Guns are firing so close they're tearing each other's hulls open. Sailors are fighting on deck with pistols, cutlasses, and whatever isn't nailed down. Jones personally leads boarding parties. His men swarm over, fighting in clouds of splinters and gun smoke. Slowly, the tide turns. The British gunners are wrecked, their decks torn up, their masts shredded. A grenade thrown from Jones' crew drops in the Serapis' gun deck and detonates a pile of charges, blowing the heart out of the ship's firepower. Finally, the British captain realizes it's over and surrenders. Jones has done the impossible. He's captured a superior British warship in a brutal, face-to-face slugfest, all while his own ship is literally sinking underneath him. The Bonhomme Richard is so damaged that it goes down shortly after the battle. Jones transfers his flag to the captured Serapis and sails away on his enemy's ship. That is peak pirate energy. Back in Europe and America, he's a superstar. Posters, songs, stories. John Paul Jones becomes the man who beat the Royal Navy at its own game right off its own coast. But if you think he retires after that, sitting on a porch somewhere polishing metals, you haven't been paying attention. After the war, America is broke and not really in a position to keep a big navy. Jones is restless, ambitious, and allergic to boredom. So when Catherine the Great of Russia calls and says, "Hey, want to come help me fight the Turks in the Black Sea?" he basically says, "Sure, new ocean, same attitude." He becomes a rear admiral in the Russian Navy. An American revolutionary, Scottish-born, serving a Russian empress, fighting the Ottoman Empire. Global chaos resume unlocked. He wins some victories, but politics, jealous officers, and his own difficult personality eventually push him out. Once again, he's too intense for the people signing the paychecks. Jones ends up in Paris in the late 1780s, sick, worn out, and aging fast. Years of hard service, bad food, injuries, and stress catch up with him. In 1792, he dies alone in his apartment, likely from kidney and liver problems. No hero's funeral. No epic last battle. Just a body in a foreign city. He's buried in an unmarked grave. For over a century, nobody's even sure where exactly. Until the early 1900s, when the United States decides, "Hey, remember that guy who gave us our entire naval swagger? Maybe we should find him." They dig, literally. French workers search old cemeteries in Paris, and eventually they find a body preserved in alcohol in a lead coffin, John Paul Jones. In 1906, his remains are brought to the U.S. in a ceremony with flags, honor guards, and all the respect he never got alive. Today, he lies in a marble tomb at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, the spiritual granddaddy of every American sailor who ever picked a fight with a bigger ship and said, "Yeah, I like my odds." John Paul Jones was not a gentle man. He was vain, touchy, ruthless, and often miserable to serve under. But he was also fearless, brilliant at sea, and absolutely relentless in a fight. Pirate to some, hero to others, he's the reason the U.S. Navy didn't grow up timid. It grew up with one core attitude: we have not yet begun to fight. If you enjoyed this trip down the rabbit hole, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Smart History for Dumb Times.